Alrighty, we are going to talk about ovulation. Am I ovulating? How do I know? This is something that can be really difficult to understand, but there's a few basic things to kind of go through. If you ever use an app or something to try and track when your period is, then sometimes it will give you a measured date about when you ovulate. But if your hormones are not balanced, meaning there's not an equal balance between estrogen and progesterone because they occur, at different times of the month, and I'll draw this out for you here, then you can be ovulating at a different time. So I'm going to draw out some different scenarios. And again, one of the best ways to track this is your own body metrics. So your basal body temperature, cervical mucus, things like that, and other signals that you might have when you ovulate. Ovulation in a typical 28-day cycle, right? Typical 28-day cycle. Now, not everybody has this, but we'll cover that in just a second, is supposed to happen right around, this is the estrogen here, and this is the progesterone here, because it rises after you ovulate. Your ovulation is supposed to be around day 14, give or take. Give or take. Now, I am Dr. Beth Westie, women's health and hormone expert. Also licensed in acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and a functional medicine practitioner. And I'm the author of the books, The Female Fat Solution and Female Menopause Solution. And in this book, The Female Fat Solution, I do cover this more in detail. I do talk about it in this book as well, but just not as much. And you can find me, follow me on YouTube. I have a ton more videos for you to resource there, as well as social media, and my podcast, The Female Health Solution, where I dive in even more. So when we're looking at this, you're looking at an average cycle where ovulation here would take place right here. This is when you should ovulate. But what happens if you have a 28-day cycle and you don't ovulate at this time? What we're looking at then is estrogen being more dominant, right? That's a phrase that a lot of people use. So it will actually cause ovulation to happen later, pushing it off to here, meaning this phase is a lot shorter. The phase where progesterone has to elevate is a lot shorter. For some people it can happen earlier, but for most people it either happens on time or later. And that's because your progesterone is not balanced with your estrogen. There's a lot of different ways that we help with this, but know that if your ovulation is not happening mid-cycle or 2 weeks before your period would be starting, then it's not being timed correctly. One of the other things to kind of note here too is that what if you have a longer or shorter cycle naturally? There's a lot of gals, in fact, I talked to somebody this week who her cycle is normally 24 days. And she's like, is that bad? I was like, no, it just means that your cycle's a little bit shorter than 28 days. So instead of it being 14, that's splitting 28, split 24, so it'd be 12 and 12. So you'd look to ovulate around day 12. Now you'd want to make sure that that happens regularly. If your cycle is a little bit longer, then again, you'd want to make sure it would be about 2 weeks before your period starts. If you don't know when your period is, or you're like, I get it 3 times a year and it's completely random, then this is one of those things you're going to want to really, really hone in on. Seed cycling, using tinctures for your cycle, that's going to really help. And then again, eating for your cycle, which I have thousands of videos on and I cover in this book as well. So that's what I got for you guys today. Please let me know if you have any other questions. But if you're like, yeah, how do I know? What do I do specifically? How can I tell where I'm at? That is why we do Dutch testing. We dive into exactly what your body is doing. And there is a Dutch test that does your cycle map. It actually takes a map of what your hormones are doing the entire month, so we know exactly when. So this is one of my favorite things to look at, a Dutch test, because it does not miss a dang thing. All right. Go below this video, click that link, learn more about Dutch test, and always reach out to me if you have any questions.